interested in making a positive impact on today's youth? If your answer is yes, then join the West Jamaica Conference for the EYES 1000 Mentorship Training Webinar on Sunday, May 16, 2021. Visit www.westjamaica.org and click the mentorship banner to register today. Upon registration, check your email for a Zoom link to join the training at 9:30 a.m. sharp with guest presenters Dr. Orlean Brown-Earle, child psychologist and associate professor at Northern Caribbean University, Miss Andrea Patterson, area coordinator for mentorship in West Jamaica Conference, and Mr. Eric Vassel from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. Remember, registration closes on Friday, May 14 at noon. So if you desire to become a mentor, visit www.westjamaica.org. Click the Departments tab, choose Mentorship, and select the Mentors application form. Get involved as we empower youth and engage society for the building of a better nation. The West Jamaica Conference's EYES Mentorship Initiative seeks to train 1,000 mentors across the parishes of St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. Learn about how you can sign up to be a part of this process as we empower youth and engage society for the building of a better nation.
The West Jamaica Conference is deliberate in its effort to maintain the youth arm of the church while impacting the lives of the young people within our communities. It is against this backdrop that the mentorship program has been born. Here with me today is Mrs. Kedaisha Mowat Grant, program coordinator for the EYES Mentorship Initiative, who will give us a little more insight as to what it is all about. Mrs. Grant, tell us, what does EYES stand for?
EYES, empowering youth, engaging society.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about the EYES mentorship program.
One of the strategic issues of our conference is the whole matter of church in the community. In light of this, we seek to engage, empower, train, and mentor our youth using methods such as sports and social events.
Right.
We have skills training and behavior modification, literacy and numeracy programs, and we also have seminars on moral and spiritual values.
So this kind of sounds like an all-inclusive program.
Indeed. We do cater for persons of various age cohorts. We have our mentors in the 24 and older category. And we also cater to those who are younger, 16 to 23, you're considered a peer mentor.
Wonderful. So we're not leaving any stone unturned.
Not at all.
So now we're going to go to a special feature outlining the steps of the mentorship process, the eligibility requirements, as well as an actual demonstration of what it's like applying for the program online. Let's take a look.
It's simple. It's free. 6 simple steps. Follow me. Step 1, the application process. Submit your online application along with a certified passport size picture and character reference from a justice of the peace. Step 2, the screening and approval process. Your name will be submitted to your church board for approval. Checks will then be made to ensure that all required documents have been submitted. If approved, you will be notified via email or WhatsApp. You would then be required to sign and submit your contract. Step 3, the sensitization and orientation. Get in the groove and participate in our orientation and sensitization activities. Step 4, this is the fun part, core training and continuous assessment. Your core training will begin, inclusive of assessments and evaluations. Engage in simulation exercises, workshops, and seminars to boost your training. Then you'll be able to network within the public and private sectors. Step 5, the practical assessment. You're almost through. Before you're assigned a mentee, please note the following. If you are a mentor or mentee under the age of 18, you will need parental consent to participate. If you are mentoring someone under the age of 18, you must be willing to submit a police record. And finally, Step 6, certification and graduation. The wait is over. Do your final assessment, complete your exit interviews, and attend your awards and recognition ceremony. See, told ya, it was easy.
Do you qualify to be a mentor? Listen to the following criteria.
Be a baptized member of a Seventh-day Adventist church in West Jamaica Conference in good and regular standing. Ideally reside in the same geographical locale as individuals to be mentored. Be willing to adhere to the policies and procedures of the mentorship program in West Jamaica Conference. Agree to a 1-year commitment to the program. Commit to spending a minimum of 8 hours monthly with your mentee. Be willing to communicate with your mentee on a weekly basis. Complete the screening procedure. Agree to attend mentorship training as required. Be willing to provide regular updates regarding the mentee-mentor engagement. Have a clean criminal history. If the applicant has been convicted of a felony, then they must be considered only after a period of 2 years with demonstrated good behavior and an appropriate and corrective attitude regarding past behavior. Have never been accused, arrested, charged, or convicted of child abuse or molestation. Not be a user of illicit drugs. Not use alcohol or harmful substances. Not currently be in treatment for substance abuse. If a substance abuse problem has occurred in the past, the applicant must have completed a non-addictive period of at least 2 years. Not currently be under treatment for a mental disorder or have been hospitalized for a mental disorder in the past 3 years. Should not have falsified information during the screening process.
To apply for the mentorship initiative online, follow these steps.
Visit www.westjamaica.org. Click on the Departments tab and select Mentorship from the drop-down menu. Click on the Links tab and then select Mentors Application Form. You're now ready to begin. Click Start. Read the instructions and select Next. Click on the link to read the eligibility requirements. Indicate you have read them, then click Next. Enter your personal data and click Submit. That's it. You're on your way to becoming a mentor. Let's continue to empower youth and engage society. Get involved today.
There you have it. It's the EYES Mentorship Initiative. To find out more about how you can become a part of this program, call the Office of the West Jamaica Conference at 876-656-7800 or 876-618-2416. You may also send us an email at mentorship@westjamaica.org. Please follow us on all social media platforms. Remember, mentorship matters.
A pleasant good morning to all our prospective mentors. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another in our mentorship series training here in the EYES 1000 mentorship program here at the West Jamaica Conference. We are delighted that you could join us once again this morning from all over West Jamaica Conference. I hope you're having a beautiful day so far, and it is my wish and my desire that the sun is shining in your soul today. My name is Keita Mendes, a proud Seventh-day Adventist, and also one who serves with the Heart NSTA Trust. And today we will continue that journey as we seek to align mentees and mentors within a church context and to give someone a lifeline. This morning, we continue the process of answering the call of mentorship within the body of Christ. Today, we have 3 eminent presenters who lined up for you, who will challenge you and will seek to prepare you as you seek to learn more and understand of the immense task at hand. As the presentations are being done, we're going to ask you to ensure that you send in those questions. And also, if by chance, if you are not yet registered, we're going to ask you to go to West Jamaica That's www.westjamaica.org. Click on that link and ensure that you're registered so that you are officially a part of the program. Today, we have with us Pastor Chadwick Cunningham, District Pastor of the Harrison District of Churches. He will share in a devotional exercise at this time. I hope that as you listen, you will be charged and you will be ready for the task at hand. Over to you, Pastor Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Elder Mendez. Morning, everyone. I trust you had a wonderful night's rest and you were overly excited to be a part of this very critical mentorship training program. I welcome you from near and from far, and thank you very much for having consented to be a part of this mentorship training. Today, for next 10 minutes or less, I want to speak to you under the caption, Changing the Narrative. Changing the Narrative. Invite you then to bow your heads with me wherever you are. Let us pray. Great eternal God and our Father, as we now seek to listen to you through your words, we pray that you will inspire us, you will motivate us. And at last, Master, let there be this great desire in our hearts, not just for the salvation of our own selves, but the salvation of those who we associate with. Be with us, bless us as we go through this discourse. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. There are many people who are living broken lives. There are many individuals who are in need of somebody's love, somebody's care, and somebody's affection. I did a little research on mentorship to see if I can better understand what it is all about. And having looked at all the material, it appears to me that mentorship at the core of it has to do with influence, guidance, and direction. So mentors are people who influence, people who guide, and people who give direction to somebody else in a positive way. Key to mentorship is the whole matter of influence. And we ought to understand that whoever we are always influencing somebody else. The definition of influence means to affect change on somebody's development, somebody's behavior, and somebody's thinking. We ought to understand that influence is very powerful. Through our influence, we can change behavior. Through our influence, we can change how people think. We can change how people develop. You can change an entire village. You can change an entire community. You can change an entire country. In Proverbs 12 and verse 26, a very important Bible passage, the Bible says, one who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor. One who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor. And I can reinterpret the text by saying, one who is righteous is one who is a mentor. But the way of the wicked leads them astray. So Proverbs 12 and verse 26 makes it very, very clear that we are all mentors, be it for good or for evil. But I am happy that those whom I'm speaking to today, we are here to mentor individuals in a positive way. So we have to understand that every single day of our lives, we are mentoring. It might be unknown to you, but you are influencing somebody else for good or for evil. We ought to understand that every act of our lives affects somebody else. Every single act of our lives affects somebody else. Hence, we are cautioned to ensure that our influence is always trending upward. our influence should never trend downward. Why? Because we are people of a higher calling. We are a holy nation. We are a royal priesthood. We are peculiar people. We are ambassadors for Jesus Christ. So our influence must lead people upward. Our influence must elevate others, to inspire to be better version of themselves, inspire them to excel in every area of their lives because they've seen it work in our own lives. A man once dreamed that he was in hell. When asked to give an account of what he had seen, if there were flames there and suffering there and wrecked and malign creatures with whom he had to associate, and if the place resounded with oaths of blasphemy, he said, yes. But there was something far more worse than that. I was compelled to face my influence. I was compelled to face my influence. I knew that I deserved punishment, for I had scorned and rejected Jesus Christ. But my sorest pain was to see what the effect of my life had been upon others. He said, my sorest pain was to see what the effect of my life had been upon others. What is your effect upon the lives of others? Are you exhibiting positive influence? Are you trending upwards? Are you trending downwards? You see, we have to understand that those who desire to influence change in the narrative of the lives of others must first experience positive change in his or her own life. In other words, before you can become a mentor in a positive sense, you must first be a mentee of Jesus Christ. You must first meet Jesus, understand who Jesus is to you, experience the power and the transforming grace of the gospel in your own lives before you can adequately change and effect change in the lives positively of those around you. You see, we must understand and appreciate that this call for us to become mentors, it is in essence a call to become a co-laborer with Jesus Christ. Jesus, when he came, he was a mentor. He called his 12 disciples and other followers, and he exhibited positive change in their lives. He influenced them for the better. He built up their lives. He called fishermen from their labor and made them into something better. We ought to understand that our influence must make people better, not worse. The business of changing the narrative of broken lives is the business of Jesus Christ. By extension, it is also the business of the followers of Jesus Christ. Mentorship takes patience, takes time, it takes prayer, it takes sacrifice, it takes commitment, and it takes genuine love for people. Jesus' love for mankind was so real, so genuine, that he left the splendor of heaven, came into this messy world to effect positive change in the lives of human beings. He chose to mingle with men in their mess, but never became infected with the mess of humanity. We ought to understand that mentorship will take us out of our comfort zone. But never should we become entangled in the mess of humanity. We are to stand apart, but at the same time, reach people where they are and effect positive change. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Matthew says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savor, where it shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. My brothers, my sisters, mentors, you have been called to a holy calling, high calling. You have been called to effect change in the lives of human beings. You have been called to change the narrative of the lives of broken young people, broken adults, broken sinners. You have been called to effect positive change, to lead men and women to a higher calling that can only be realized in Jesus Christ, our Lord. May you then take this matter seriously. May you then live on your knees and ask God to give you clean hands and pure hearts, so that your feeble vessel can be used by the King of Glory to effect positive change in the lives of broken individuals. This then is your calling. May you approach it with godly fear and trembling.
We hope and trust that, as we would have heard this morning, that as he shared, Jesus was indeed the first mentor, and that we too must continue to be mentors to our brothers and sisters. Now at this time, we have with us Miss Zaria Lawson, student of the Northern Caribbean University, and she will be coming at this time to share a cultural piece with us. As she shares that piece, I hope and trust that you will listen, understand, and get the message from the piece, and that you will understand the role more of a mentor in this EYES 1000 program. Indeed, this program, my brothers and sisters, is geared towards you. It's geared towards the church. It's geared towards development. It's geared towards preparing us to help our brothers and sisters in Christ, and those who are not even members of the church, to help them as we go along this pilgrim journey. Indeed, the song does remind us that if we help somebody as I pass along, if I can show somebody a word or a song, if I can show somebody where they're going wrong, then our living shall not be in vain. And so at this time, we welcome Miss Nell Lawson, my apologies, student, Northern Caribbean University, as she comes to share our cultural piece with us. Be blessed. Wonderful, wonderful message there in poetry by Lady Harrison, student of the Northern Caribbean University. Powerful message being shared about the issues facing us in society today, having to do with children abuse and also other issues relating to children and care of children who are in protection of adults. Powerful message shared. This morning, we present our first plenary presenter. Dr. Orlean Brown-Earle is a psychiatrist, educator, and mother who believes in the spiritual welfare of persons as being one of the most important aspects of life. She is a graduate from my alma mater, Michael Teachers College, University of the West Indies, and Howard University, where she gained a diploma in special education, a bachelor's degree in educational administration, and master's and doctoral degrees in school psychology. Dr. Brown currently practices child psychology and family therapy. She provides professional development activities and training to many organizations. She has worked in the field of psychiatry in the United States and across the Caribbean. Dr. Earle Brown has gained additional training that helps her to provide general counseling support for women with post-traumatic stress disorder and for coping with emotional stressors. Dr. Earle Brown is also a professor at the Northern Caribbean University, where she lectures in graduate psychology degree program. A third-generation Seventh-day Adventist, Dr. Brown-Earle is married to Pastor Jeremy Earle, and they have two daughters, Anna and Sarah. So without much further ado, we now present to you Dr. Brown-Earle. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I do hope that you're having a wonderful day so far, and I was encouraged by the presenters thus far. God is really good to have given us so many persons who open our eyes as to the realities of our experience. Great. Welcome, welcome, and more welcome. And so now we're going to be looking at human development for the next 30 minutes. And before we do that, I want you to look at yourself. Look at your beautiful hands that God has made you. Look at your eyes, nose, mouth. Just look at your entire body experience. And when you do that, you begin to understand and comprehend the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful body that Christ has given you. Right? Yes. And also, importantly, your mind. And so we're going to look at all of that today. Your physical, your mental, your spiritual, your social, and your emotional development. Because all of that is what makes you the wonderful person you are. And importantly, we're doing this session for you to understand other people and what will make you a great mentor and even much more productive mentee. So as we start, I want you to get yourself a piece of paper and we're going to do an activity, okay? I want you to make a circle, and I want you to make a circle with your hand that you use to write with. So if it's your right hand or your left hand, make a circle on a piece of paper with the one that you use to write with. Good. And then I want you to put down that one and then use your left hand. And I want you to make a circle with the same pen or pencil or crayon. All right, good job. Now I want you to do something even more interesting. I want you to close your eyes and take up your pen in the hand that you don't normally use. And at the bottom of the paper, make a square. Close your eyes and make that square. And what you have just seen there, I am sure, are 3 different items, right? One, look like a regular circle. Another one looks like a circle that needs a little help. And another one, you're not sure if it's a square, rectangle, or a triangle. And that is telling you that the three different things you have there is like three different people. Okay, I want you to always remember that. Three different people, and they're all made by you, isn't that so? And I want you to understand that each person you meet will have a different physical makeup, a different mental makeup, a different spiritual makeup, and a different social makeup. Okay? And I want you to always remember that, because how you treat persons, understanding that they're all different, is going to be key in being successful in the work that you do. Now, human development, what is it? I've said that to you a while ago. So now you can tell me what you think. Yes, some of you are saying it refers to the biological. Yes, the psychological. Yes, the human development looks at, yes, the mental. So technically, here are some definitions. It refers to the biological, psychological development of the human being throughout the lifespan. And when we say lifespan here, we're talking about from the womb all the way until the oldest age that you can be. And so we're thinking now that it consists of the development during infancy. What's happening to you when you're just born? From you're in the mommy's womb. Remember, you're born from, that's where you are, right? Birth has taken place within, and then afterwards you come out, right? And then we have infancy, then we have childhood. Wow, remember when you're 2 and 3 years old around the place? Some of you do, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then we have the adolescence. So from 13 to around 17, yes, you grew physically, mentally, and spiritually too. And of course, as young adults now, you are having another experience. So I want you to look at yourself again and you say, hello, I am John. And we're going to talk about the best part of your human development. And so some of you are going to tell me that the best part of your human development was when you were a teenager and you grew taller than everybody else and you felt real good about yourself. A young lady might say, wow, it was when my breasts began to grow and my hips. Oh yes, that was the best part of my human development. Another person might say it was the intellectual side. Yes, it was when I was in 9th grade or 7th grade or 4th grade when I realized that, wow, this is exciting. I'm learning. I can do this. I can really become the communications professional. I can really become a teacher. I can really become the nurse because my brain is so full of knowledge and I can use it. Another person might recognize their social skills. That was the best part of your human development. When you realize that you could work with people, that you could be a great leader, that you could be an excellent follower of good things. Yes. And so all of those aspects were part of your human development. And I don't want you to forget that whether it was your physical, emotional, your social, your spiritual, any part of your life, all of them came together and made you the positive person that you are right now participating in this program. Now, we have to do a little technicalities, and we have to look at the periods of human development. So we talk about the prenatal development, right, before you're born. And so what's happening inside the womb when that wonderful sperm and that egg got together? Praise the Lord. One of the things that we're yet to understand about God's marvelous nature. And so during that period of human development, what is happening during pregnancy is very important. So what persons eat, their emotional experiences, their intellectual experiences, all of that is going to impact the child. So for example, if a mother drinks a lot of alcohol, the baby can end up having what we call fetal alcohol syndrome. It can affect the child, it can affect their physical and their brain development. If the individual is having a lot of emotional trauma, it can also affect the baby. So that each period of development is very, very important. And this is why we want to make sure that persons go for their healthcare checkups, right? And we're going to go into more detail about the social and emotional side of things later on. Then, of course, there is infancy and toddlerhood. I don't know about you, but I know that I love children, especially at that stage. And so when they're 1 year old and they're just learning to walk, or they're 2 years old and they're saying these exciting things about what's happening here and what they think about here, and they might take up your phone and they're playing with it and they're telling you what they see on it. All of those things are so very important. And if we don't see a child talking, if we don't see a child walking, by that stage, infancy and toddlerhood, we have some concerns. These days, we have concerns for autism, some types of intellectual development. We have concerns for learning disabilities. We have concerns for any physical motor skills problem that they might have. And so we want to do important things at these stages of this stage, especially infancy and toddlerhood. If we don't see them wanting to reach, you have a pen in your hand and the child does not want to reach for it. If you have on your mask and the child doesn't want to reach and take it off, they're just there, not moving, not being sociable. We really want to find a pediatrician and or a child psychologist to check out and see what might be happening. Critical as it relates to human development, because the earlier we intervene to get the child some help, is the more the opportunity is for that child to maximize his or her potential. Then, of course, there is early childhood. Oh, just another wonderful stage. We all love to see kindergartners, don't it? Yes, when they're learning their songs and they're singing the ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We just sing along with them, eh? And of course, when they're also counting, when they also go up in our churches to say their scripture passages, or just to hold up a letter to say something, in those early days and stages is fascinating. And we want to watch for this. We want to watch for the child who, early childhood, you know, that child 4, 5, 6 was very sociable. But then if we have a concern that they're no longer being sociable, we want to find out what could possibly be happening there. Then we go to middle childhood. Oh, this is when everybody's brave now. By middle childhood now, so we have your 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Yes. And they're going off to school by themselves. They're no longer afraid. They know how to get their lunches. They know how to socialize. They know when it's time to do things. They're very helpful around the house. They can help to sweep. They can help to do the dishes. All of these things should be happening in middle childhood. But we want to also make sure that they are socializing, that they're playing with their friends, okay? If we have a child that is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and they're engaging what we call solitary play, they're just playing by themselves and don't want to play with anyone else, that is a serious concern. So we want to make sure that we get some help for them. Then, of course, we have our adolescents. Whoa, yes, that is when all the hormones start to get excited and all the wonderful things happen, right? Yes. So we are here now, 12, 13, 14, 15, yes, 16. Yes, first form up to fifth form, usually. Those are the adolescent years, grade 7 to grade 11. And what exciting things happen during those years. Yes, some of us fall in love. The girls take forever in the bathroom. The boys start to take a little more attention about the acne. You know, the boys are more into the bodybuilding and want to make sure they look good. And they're also into their hair and want to make sure they look good too. And then intellectually, this is when many of our young people rise. Yes, they realize they have the potential to do great and wonderful things. And they just are focused on their academics, or they're focused on their pathfindering, or they're focused on their scouting, or they're focused on their social clubs, and they get a lot of programs and activities done. Also, we find this is a time for leadership in their churches. So the human development says that at this stage, the adolescent normally should be participating in growth and development programs, such as this one, that we're experiencing today. Then we have early adulthood, 17, 18, 19, 20, and going up. Yes, so by 18 now, you're legally an adult. And what happens when you're legally an adult? You're responsible for every action you take. So if you're driving a car at 18 and there's an accident or an incident, your parents can't come and say anything. You have to take responsibility. If you go and you go on a trip somewhere, no, you don't have to ask anyone unless you're still under the jurisdiction of your parents, right? So adolescent years are key, early adulthood years are key and very, very important. Then we have middle adulthood. So by that time, in your 20s and to your 30s and your 40s, yes, this is where now some of you are going to get married. Yes, probably to that wonderful young lady or young man you met as an adolescent. This is where you're going to have completed possibly your education in terms of tertiary education or your hard program training or any skill training program, correct? And then you're moving on. You probably would have rented your house by now. You would have moved out of your parents' house and be living somewhere on your own. Middle adulthood, and you'll be working and of course, saving your money towards better and more exciting things in your life. Then there is late adulthood. So for 50, 60, 70, you get a little older like myself, you're going to make sure all your plans are in place for retirement. You're going to make sure that your children are taken care of, right? Yes, and intellectually you're striving towards many wonderful things. And of course, through all of these stages, prenatal, infancy, early childhood, middle childhood, adolescence, and early adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood, you would have been growing spiritually as well, certainly. So let's move on to understand more about these phases that we all go through. So we have heard of Erik Erikson, and here share the 8 stages of psychosocial development. And we're going to talk about this because as I just described all those stages, if we don't do certain things, we're not going to be positive and successful as it relates to our development. So during each of the stages that I'm going to talk about, the person experiences a psychosocial crisis, which could have a positive or negative outcome for their personality development. So let's see where you are. So if you're an infant, here is what you need to make sure is resolved. So basic trust versus basic distrust. So if you're an infant and you're being fed regularly and you're happy, you will develop basic trust with other people around you. So your mom is feeding you, your daddy is feeding you, your auntie is feeding you when you're an infant, and you get your food on time and you're taken care of. You begin to, from that stage, to say, wow, this means that adults will take care of me. However, if you don't have that positive experience as an infant, you start to distrust individuals. So all of this is important, okay, at the infant level. Then as a toddler, you're supposed to be learning to do things, right? You're supposed to be given opportunity to do what? Pick up things and make them fall and, learning to get up and walk around and explore. And if you don't have the opportunity to do this, you might experience shame and doubt. Or if you're always told, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and you're always being punished for doing things that are normal for you to do, you might think it's not okay to do it. And you might feel shameful and doubt yourself when you're supposed to be doing things that you're supposed to be learning from. Then as a preschooler and the early childhood individual, a lot of initiatives supposed to be taking place. You're supposed to want to raise your hand to ask questions. Yes, I think you should be learning to do. But if you don't learn to do these things, you'll experience guilt, right? If someone says, oh, you don't need, why should I doing this, huh? So we want to encourage individuals to be great as it looks at using their initiative. Then when we get to the school age, and especially during playtimes, we want to see industry in their behavior, right? Yes, we want to see them being industrious, want them doing things, building things, making things, and being naturally wanting to do that. And we want their parents and family members to encourage them to do these kinds of things. Now, if they're not encouraged to do these things and they're told that it's not good to do it, they're going to be feeling inferior. All right? So we want to look at that and look at their behavior as it relates to that. Now, as we reach the adolescent stage, we all are at adolescent stage, we are finding who we are. Who am I? Okay, I am Orlean and I love ice cream. I am Orlean and I want to be a teacher. Who am I? Now, if we don't encourage this type of thinking for persons to try to find out who they are and exploring who they are, we can have in all that you do. Now, as you get older, what Erickson reminds us is that if you're not sharing, if you're not positive, if you're not being active, you will experience ego integrity issues, negative issues, which is despair. So your ego will be intact and there will be integrity when you're sharing, when you're communicating, when you're being active. But if you're older and you stay home and you don't participate and you're not active, guess what? You will become despondent, and we don't want that. So if you notice at all the stages, we have the positives. We have trust, autonomy, initiative, industry, identity, intimacy, generativity, and ego integrity. That's what we want to see people do. That's how we want to see them grow. We do not want to see distrust, shame and doubt, guilt, inferiority, role confusion, isolation, stagnation, or despair. So you mostly here are in the adolescent to young adult age group. So we need to make sure that you understand who you are, who you're going to be, who has called you to greatness, the Lord himself. We want you to understand that it's great to be intimate, but we want you to be intimate in positive and socially acceptable ways. Then, of course, do you remember? We all have been at this stage. Where are you now? Okay? All right. So you know where you are. So I want you to look at this picture and think about where these individuals are. So we see the youngest one, the infant, just walking along, looking around, exploring. Then we see the next, right? Yes, that kindergartner, that child that is going off to grade 1, grade 2. Then we see that young man there with his bag, around 6, 7 years old, on to the next stage of the life. Okay. And then we see now the adolescent. Yes, moving on and stepping out. And then we see the young adults still moving on and stepping out. And then we see the adults having another focus there, having other things happening in their life. And so this is what we want to see in terms of people's growth and development. If you notice, each of the pictures here are saying, is saying what? Growth. They're doing something, they're being active, they're being proactive. And this is what we want to see for individuals as it relates to their human development, that they're being positive and proactive. Now, interestingly, my friends, one thing that we need to be very aware of is this question: is a change smooth or uneven? Now, one thing we do know, that it's not the same for everyone. So is this pattern of change the same for everyone? Certainly not. Look at the picture that we have over there. We have the grandparents, we have the parents, we have the children, we have the grandchildren. And all of them, we have 10 persons in that picture, and they all will go through different developmental changes. Okay? And we want to remember that. So Grandpa probably had not much material things when he was growing up, compared to the little girl who her daddy is holding in the blue. She probably had a lot of material things like you all have now, right? And so her growth and development, probably she was even stimulated more in terms of learning than her grandfather was, right? So all of us, we would have had a difference in terms of our developmental changes. Okay, let's think about it now for a minute. How do genetics and environment interact to influence development? And so some of you may have heard about nature versus nurture. You say, what is that, Dr. Brown-Earle? Nature is every day. What's out there? Your biology. That look at you. Remember at the beginning I talked about that? Look at you. What do people out there see? They see your beautiful hair, your beautiful eyes, your wonderful hands, your beautifully shaped body, the wonderful way you speak. That's what people see. That is nature. That's what God gave you. So your DNA, yes, somebody said that. Your DNA will constitute the side of nature. Then we have nurture. Now, nurture is about your environment. What is it that you're given to make you successful? What is it that you're given to make your physical needs met so you can grow and be healthy? What are you given to meet your intellectual needs so you can maximize your potential? How are you socialized? What accounts for your spiritual growth? Think about that. Now, some persons say nature is 50%, and some say nurture is 50%. That makes you who you are. Others say nature is 60% and nurture is 40%. But one thing we do know, whether it's your genes or your environments, they both are going to impact your growth and your human development. Okay, some of you, when you think about your behavior, you might say, look at Mary. She behaved just like her Auntie Joe. Isn't that so? Yes, so that would be genetics, right? And then somebody else might behave like Auntie Joe, and that auntie might be a positive person. But you might have someone else who behaves like Uncle John, and that might not be a positive behavior. But if they get the correct nurturing and guidance from the environment, their behavior can change and they can maximize their potential and be positive and productive persons in society. So I want you to look at yourself now in terms of genetics. Who do you look like in your family? Your DNA, like your mother, like your father? Somebody might say, man, she looks just like her grandmother or her auntie or her cousins. You might be going to visit somebody and you're in the taxi and somebody say, oh, you're going to look for, you're going to go and look for Miss Joan. And you're like, oh, you know that. You look just like them, like the family down there. So that's your genetics, okay? That's what's in your DNA. But of course, your behavior now is going to also be impacted somewhat by what you have gained from family. Some persons are more prone to using alcohol. Some persons are more prone to using drugs. Some persons are more prone to aggressive or angry behavior because of genetics. But we do know that how the environment that they're nurtured in, even though they might be more prone to such negative behaviors, all of that can change for them to be positive and productive individuals. Their aggressive behaviors can be lessened or even eliminated depending on the type of nurturing that they get. And this nurturing, it's best to start from they're very young, but this nurturing can occur at any stage that we talked about of human development, any one of them. The important thing is to get the person to understand that you want them to be better persons so that their changes can be smooth. However, sometimes the changes will be uneven. Depending on what's happening in their life, some person might have medically related situations that cause them to behave a particular way. Some persons might just be born with particular behaviors. So you have individuals who might be born with autism. And so they might show you a side of them that is erratic in their behaviors. You have some individuals who might be autistic who are like geniuses. They can play the piano without anybody teaching them. They can sing like, quote unquote, an angel without anybody teaching them. But at the same time, emotionally, they can just be in their shells if they're not actually doing the activity. All right? You have other individuals who might be coping with social and emotional issues. They might have been abandoned when they were young, right? They might have been physically abused or emotionally abused or abused in any form. And so they might be presenting with post-traumatic stress disorder. Correct. And so these individuals now would need a special kind of nurturing to make sure that they become positive, productive, wonderful members of society. So does genetics and the environment interact to influence development? Yes, it does. However, we can, with the Holy Spirit, see individuals change from negative to positive experiences. All right, wonderful. And as we come down to a close, I want us all to remember, in terms of your personal development, because remember, you have to look within. First thing is, where are you now in terms of your development? Are you growing? Are you clear about your identity? What are you coping with? Do you have some post-traumatic stress issues coping with? Do you have family members around you who are positive and productive? What are you coping with? And of course, how can you make things better? You are learning from this now, so you can say, I need to look within myself. Will counseling help me? Or will other things help me to be a better person? And of course, how does all of this, where are you now? What are you coping with? How can you make things better? How does this all affect you spiritually? I want to thank you for this wonderful experience, and I look forward to answering your questions a little later. Have a wonderful morning and take care now.
Reopen your camera. We're going to take the questions at this point. We want to facilitate some of those that those in the chat may have. I want to start, while they might be contemplating their questions, to find out from you, how do you guide someone who may be struggling in making that transition, for example, from teenage to young adulthood, someone who is going through the phases of life and are a little bit confused. How do you guide that person as a mentor, as someone who might not be as trained and exposed as you are to this issue of psychology and the developmental cycle? What would you say to our mentors to help teenagers make that transition?
Thank you, Pastor. So what we want to do is that we want our mentors to ask a powerful question. What is it that you're concerned about? We need to understand that first of all. So the person might not be able to pinpoint it right away, but you ask the what question. So is it that they're confused about some sexual issues? Are they confused about their intellectual capacity? Are they confused about the dissonance, the confusion in their homes? What is it? So you want to ask them that. And I want us to remember that when we're querying, when we're asking these type of questions, have the person away from other people. Make sure there's a sense of privacy and make sure that we have time to focus. Try to put away the phones when we're going to ask questions like these. So having asked the question, and say, for example, the person says, I'm confused about my career. I want to be a musician, but my family is saying to me that you're bright, you need to become a medical doctor. So you explore with them, what is it that makes them want to become a musician? You can sit down and discuss with them the pros and cons of being such a professional as it relates to a comparison with the other type of professional. Also, you can guide them to career counseling.
Okay.
So you share with them, you find out the what is their problem, and then you say, you know what? I might know someone, Sister Bowers, who can guide you even further into this confusion that you have. And then you get additional help. But try to find out the what as much as possible and encourage them to speak up. And so if they don't want to share a lot, you say, tell me more. If they answer in 1 word or 2 word or 3 word sentences, just say, tell me more, and allow them to express themselves.
Okay, very good. In continuation of the same issue, Dr. Brown, there are persons who, you grew up seeing these young teenagers in your church, you know them all along, you knew them, as you would say, from their eyes were at their knees, you know them. And it might be an obvious answer or obvious issue, but how do you identify those indicators that, listen, this young man, this young woman is not the little girl you knew in primary class. This is somebody who is going through a transition. What are the indicators as a mentor that I should look for so that I can be more equipped in acknowledging that something is changing and so I need to respond to that change?
Thanks, Pastor. So there's something, the blessing is that we would have known this person before, so we can compare.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if we know this person used to be very sociable and they're no longer very sociable, that's a huge sign. Huge sign.
Yes.
If we know the individual like to go up and read at church and no longer wants to participate in even reading the scripture passage or making an announcement, that's another thing to look forward to. Okay. Just their seating habits. If they're sitting, where they prefer to sit has changed.
Yes.
We want to also look at those things. Lateness to church. Probably they were the early birds before and now they're coming late and their attitude is not as positive as it was before.
Yes.
So some of those signs are simple signs that we can look for. And then I want to talk about the dress code.
Okay.
If we recognize that the dress code is not as proper, not as humble, as appropriate as it was before, we want to look at these signs and say, I've seen some changes here. I wonder if these changes are positive. Let me go find out what's happening here. Yes. So we can use some of those basic signs to start the conversation.
Okay, very good, very good. I'm sure that those who are in the chat will leave it something there to benefit their education as a mentor. I'm still looking for more questions from the chat, but in the meantime, we really just want to say, Doc, that it was a wonderful presentation. It's a very important aspect to understand. And I would recommend to those who are watching to continue to do some reading. I probably could ask you, Doc, do you have any sources that you would recommend for our mentors to go and to find additional reading material to equip themselves for this type of knowledge base so that they can be the best mentors that they can be? Do you have any recommendations, whether websites, books, for the layman? As a starter, do you have any such recommendations?
Right. Sir, let me tell you, the best thing I want them to do is go to Google and type in Ellen G. White and youth. Okay. You will be surprised how many of our non-Adventists use her material to guide young people. So go to Google first thing and type in Ellen G. White and youth, and you will see a lot of material there. They can also Google my name, and they will see some of the material that I have produced. And that they can access. But first and foremost, Ellen G. White and youth, Ellen G. White and human development, hit those two, type those in and hit the enter button, and they will have more material than they know what to do with. And the blessing of Ellen G. White's writing is that it can be understood by all.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. I'm sure that they'll be happy to know they can go to Inspired Writings to find information to guide young people in this very difficult time of Earth's history, and also from a academic standpoint can also benefit from material that you would have shared. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, but we're going to invite persons. If you still have questions, even after Dr. Brown is gone or her segment is finished, you can still drop it there. We will take them, we will feed it to her, and we will try our best to get responses and feedback for your benefit. At this time, Doc, again, we just really want to thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. It was really tremendous, and we pray that God will continue to bless your ministry as you continue to provide assistance to children and families to be the best they can be, and for empowering our young people this morning, for empowering our mentors in training. We just want to say a big thank you for your participation. At this time, we're going to turn over to the icebreaker, which will be done, led out by Ms. Kamara Dixon.
Thank you very much, Pastor Chambers. Thank you, Dr. Orlean Brown-Earle. Two wonderful presentations we've had so far. Now, as he said, this segment, we are going to be engaging you in an icebreaker activity. However, it will be in the form of a demonstration. What I'd like you to do for me, my MITs, mentors in training, please be present in the moment. I want you to observe what is happening and try to make jottings of lessons that you can learn throughout the demonstration. All right? And just to let me feel you, I want you to type something in the chat for me. Type, let's see, #eyes, so that I can know you are hearing me or seeing me or feeling me and you're ready for this. #eyes, EYES. All right, all right. Awesome, I'm seeing the comments coming in, beautiful. So I have some participants here with me. On my left, I have Sister Mitchell and Zaria. They are going to be the participants for the demonstration right now. So let's say Sister Mitchell is Team M and Zaria is Team Z. Yeah, that works. So Team M for Sister Mitchell and Zaria is Team Z. So I'm going to give them their instructions right now. All right. So Team Z and Team M, are you ready? Perfect. Now, on your table, you have jigsaw puzzle pieces. All right, you have separate jigsaw puzzle pieces. And what you're going to do for me is to assemble these puzzle pieces as quickly as possible. You're not allowed to speak, not even to yourself, no mumbling, nothing, please. All right, you can't ask me anything either. Just follow my instructions, the instructions I'm giving you right now. So all you're going to be doing is to work as fast as possible to assemble those puzzle pieces. Remember, Zoomers, MITs rather, please watch, observe what is happening. All right, so if in the event when you are doing the assembling of the puzzle pieces, you meet upon a challenge, you have to find a way out. All right, I don't know. So please, you have to ensure that you figure out an amicable solution to the problem that you face. So as I instruct you, then you start. Okay, so you have 2 separate puzzle pieces there now. And after 2, 1, 2, begin. All right, so MITs, who are you cheering for? Are you for Team M? Are you for Team Z? Who are you cheering for? Let me see your answers in the chat. Team M, Team Z, let us see if they are able to complete, how fast they'll be able to complete their puzzles. And let's see if they'll have any challenges. Do you think they'll have any challenges? Let's see. Remember, you are to be observing what is happening so that if there are any lessons we can learn from this demonstration, you are to jot those down because it will be instructive later on for us. Jotasha says both. All right. All right. Anybody else for Team M, for Team Z? Well, I know who I'm rooting for, but I'm not telling you. Okay. They seem to be doing well. Renisha says Team M. Okay. Team M, you have somebody rooting for you. And there's somebody rooting for both. Let's see who can cop the prize this morning. Quite an interesting activity. And as you pay close attention to what is happening, you'll find that there are valuable lessons to be learned. I should inform you that opposite the teams is Mr. Eric Vassel, who has a sign in his hand that says growth. And a little later from now, we'll understand why he's standing there with the sign growth. So if you're having any challenges, let us see how best you are able to resolve those. I'm going to walk over there a little, just a little bit. See what is happening here. Oh dear. Sister M, you think everything is going fine? You think so? How about you, Zaria? Is it coming together? Zaria says, no, it's not coming together. What do you think is happening, Zaria? Do you need help? Uh-oh, guess what? MIT, she says, she thinks there are some missing pieces. Do you agree with that, Sister M? She says yes. All right, let us see then what you can do to make it work, because it has to work today, you know, people, it has to work. So let's see what you're gonna do now to ensure that it works. You have to be able to think on the spot because obviously you have come upon a problem. So it might mean you have to pause a while and think, wait, what am I going to do to solve this problem? All right, guys, I hope you see what is happening here. Yes, man, you can mingle, but don't talk, please. MITs, I wonder if you see what is happening here. Did you see what Zaria just did? She is taking some of the pieces from the other team, from Team M. Is that working out, Zaria? She says, yes, it's working out. All right, all right. Sister M, is there something you need to do as well to make it happen? You might have to think a while. All right. Seem like something is happening here. So Zaria, what have you concluded just now? that all the pieces have come together. All right. So are you saying that Sister M had some of your pieces, Zaria? And Sister M, are you saying Zaria had some of your pieces? Oh my word. So they had pieces that would actually help them to finish the puzzle. All right, let's see you make this happen now. So now that you have resolved the issue, let's see you completing this puzzle, and then I'll give you my next instruction. All right. See how faster you can go now that you realize that you both need to be working together to solve the puzzle. And if you notice, they are wearing their masks. We have to observe the protocols that dictate how we operate here. All right, so I see it's coming together nicely. Yes. Yes. All right. Yes. 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 So we're no longer competing. It's now a team effort. I hope you would have realized that MIT's mentors in training. Yes. 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 I hope some of the lessons are jumping out at you so that you can share with me right after this demonstration. All right, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. And MIT's Zoomers, as you are observing what is happening here, I'm going to ask you to start sharing with us some of the lessons that you are learning, some of the pointers that are jumping out at you. All right. They're getting there. Yes, yes. The pieces are nicely coming together. Right. They're nicely coming together now. I think the fact that they're working under pressure, it's kind of making them a little bit nervous. So perhaps it's taking them a longer time than is expected. But they'll get there. Just 2 more minutes or less, and they'll get there. So I'm going to be checking in on your responses right now. All right. So Joe Tasha says they have to work together to complete the one puzzle. All right. The first thing each person did was closely observe the person around you. They may just have something you need. All right, Denver, that's Denver. Horton, anybody else, any other observations, any other lessons that are coming out that you want to share at this moment? Send them in for me. Renicia says, sometimes we think we can do, all right, I like this. I see them coming in. Renicia says, sometimes we think we can do things by ourselves, but we can't. Please, we need to hear that again. Sometimes we think we can do things by ourselves, but we cannot. And Shemanda says, there was a lot of forming and dismantling by each participant before they realized they needed to collaborate. And I'm hoping that these responses are actually coming together to you so that you realize that as mentors, it's gonna take teamwork. All right, excellent. Jotasha says, one lesson I learned is that when mentoring, it's not about compete. Oh, Jesus. Jotasha, if you were near me, girl, I'd give you a high five. No, you said it's not about competing. So as a mentor, you're not competing with your mentee. It's about working together to achieve one goal, which is for our mentees to come to love Jesus, all right? But just as the puzzle activity, all right, but just as a puzzle activity, if there is a way that works for a mentee from a fellow mentee, we can share with other mentees. Girl, you have hit the nail on the head. That's it. Sydney says, objective of the lesson, collaboration, teamwork, unity, communication. Denver says, sometimes we struggle to put the pieces together, but it takes us years when our help is right next to us. All right, excellent responses. I like where this is going. So Zaria and Sister M, here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. Let's pretend that this puzzle is finished. It's finished. All right, it's finished. The pieces are together. The next challenge is for you to remove this puzzle from this table and take it over to the growth area. You're taking it to the growth area, but you cannot lift it off the table. So you have to now figure out a way in your team to move this puzzle piece to this table without, let us see if they'll get it, without lifting the puzzle. You can't talk to each other, but you can gesticulate. You can use a nonverbal cues. All right, give them a clap in your environment. Excellent, they're doing something. So how are you gonna get it from that table to this now? Let us see. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So they have completed the challenge. It works like that. Teamwork is important in mentorship. And I just want to leave 4 points to you as I quickly wrap up. Working together in a team and as a mentor, you have to know that teamwork teaches problem-solving skills. We're living in a volatile world, so we need teamwork, and it teaches us problem-solving skills, as was demonstrated earlier. Teamwork requires us to blend our complementary strengths in order to have the dream work. Like Kedania says, teamwork makes the dream work, yeah? And it fosters creativity and learning. Sometimes we have to pool what we know and our creative elements to have the bigger picture coming together. And the last point is that it builds trust. Now, being in a mentor and mentee relationship, the goal is to do all of that, but importantly, to build trust so that we can experience growth. And that's what's on the sign that Elder Vassel is holding. We need to build growth. So that's it for your icebreaker. Thank you for sharing with us this morning. I'll now hand over to our moderator. Take care, everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sister Dixon and team, for sharing in that icebreaker. Such a message, powerful message coming out in terms of collaboration, teamwork, unity, working together. And that's what it's all about here in our Empowering Youth Engaging Society program, EYES. It's about pouring from the mentor to the mentee, sharing, helping someone cross that bridge from point A to point B. And so to help that person to ensure that they can have that touch and that experience coming through. Just to let you know that as we proceed at this time, we remind you that you need to register. Ensure that you go to the westjamaica.org and that you click that link and that you ensure that you put in your name and all the necessary information so that you are registered on the website. Also to let you know that it is very important for you to ensure that you do the quiz that is going to be put in the chat at some point in time. So check the chat for that quiz and you can hit it up when you're ready, and to ensure that you understand what you have learned so far. Also, to let you know that the mentorship program evaluation form will also be in the chat. So when the program is wrapping up, we are going to ask you to evaluate the program. We want to know that the program is reaching. We want to know that the program, you are being engaged, you are being satisfied. We want your feedback. And so feedback has great importance in that it helps us that when we are delivering the next level of training, we can put your feedback into question and help it to develop our program as we proceed going forward. So we look forward to you evaluating our mentorship program as that link is sent out. Also, to let you know that we are heading now to a breakout session. We are heading to a breakout session, and in this breakout session, we will have two presenters for you. Now, if you are 23 or younger, you are gonna hit up on the presenter, that Sister Andrea Patterson, Miss Andrea Patterson. That is breakout session number 2, right? So we have breakout session number 1 and breakout session number 2. So here in our studio, we have with us breakout session number 1, which is Mr. Eric Vassel. Just to tell you about Mr. Vassel. Mr. Vassel is the Regional Director, Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Western Region. He is an elder and a family life director of his church, father, husband, a counselor by profession. He studied at the Sam Sharp Teachers College. He has his diploma in guidance and counseling. He did his BSc work at the Northern Caribbean University, where he studied in counseling and social work. And he also has a master's in educational leadership and administration from the Central Connecticut State University. So in the studio, we have a breakout session number 1 presenter, Mr. Eric Vassel. And for breakout session number 2, we have, as I said before, Miss Andrea Patterson. She's area coordinator assigned to the mentorship program of West Jamaica. She is a social worker and child officer for over 16 years. She has a passion for learning and training and working with the youth. She just loves children and youth ministries. And so these two presenters will be coming to us in short order to share in our program today. I hope and trust that as they come, and as they come, you will join with them. Please remember to click the link, all right? So if you are 23 and under, reminding you again, if you are 23 and under, click the link that is going to come up in the chat so that you can join either our dear brother or Sister Patterson. Our dear brother will be here, so that feed will go straight out. And of course, if you want to join with Sister Patterson, 23 and under, you click that link. And so we want to ensure this morning that you are well catered for and that all your needs in terms of your training, we are able to have you well developed, well put together, be ready for the challenge of dealing with your mentee, be fully prepared that when you have started that journey with your mentee, that you are fully engaged, fully on board, fully knowledgeable, having the skills sets required so that you can effectively impart to your mentee that which you have learned. And so we encourage you, take your notes, ask your questions when given the opportunity. We encourage you to keep learning, find your own material, read, learn about this, because it could, and I hope that it will become for you a journey that will take you to sharing with others, and a journey that will take you to understanding more and more of what is expected. And so I encourage you, mentors, whatever it takes to keep learning, let us do that. At this time, we're going to hand over to our presenters. First, here in main studio, Mr. Eric Vassel. And for those who are 23 and under, you would have clicked the link and joined with Mrs. Andrea Patterson. Over to Sister Patterson and over to Sir Vassel.
Thank you very much. And welcome to our mentors in training. As was just mentioned, learning never ends. It starts in the womb and ends at the tomb. Right, so we ask that you take your papers and pen out. You might want to take some jottings, as I'll be looking at the Child Care and Protection Act. I will refer to it as the CCPA for short, but in fact, it is the Child Care and Protection Act. Now, the Child Care and Protection Act of 2004 was given the Governor General's assent of on the 25th of March, 2004. It is an act for the care and the protection of all children and young persons 0 to 18 years old. The Juvenile Act in 1951 has been repealed by Parliament at the time. Now I'm going to look at a brief review of the development of the Child Care and Protection Act. Now, 3 situations finally led to the production and promulgation of this act in March of 2004. However, it should be noted that these situations involve several entities of government and non-government organizations, right, that are responsible for some aspects of children's welfare, such as the United Nations and some private sector entities in Jamaica. The situations are as follows, right? Participation of the World Summit. So Jamaica was a part of the World Summit, and we signed the convention. And as a part of signing the convention, we are to ensure that the rights of children are upheld at all costs. The Convention of the Rights of the Child, the CRC for short, right, was it's part of the development of the Child Care and Protection Act and the development of a national policy on children in Jamaica. Now, there are 4 categories of the rights, right? The first one is survival rights. And these refers to things like the basic needs of a child, food, clothing, shelter, love, affection, attention, and so on and so forth. So it is important that as we look at the Convention of the Rights of a Child, that we look at the basic needs for the child's survival. We also look at the developmental right. These are factors that enhance growth and development of each child. For example, the name. Every child must have a name. Every child must have a nationality. Every child must have the right to a free and a fair education, right? So these are part of the developmental rights that is so important for each child as they mature through life. Now, the other right is the protection rights. Now, all children must be, under the Convention of the Rights of the Child, must be protected from all forms of exploitation, cruelty, neglect, abuse, social injustice, discrimination, you name it. Every child must be protected. Now, the final category is the participation rights. Now, this is a promotion of the child's right to an opinion and views by allowing them to express themselves in matters of their own lives. Now, gone are the days when we used to say children must be seen and not heard, and it is my way or the highway. No, our children must be respected. Our children have their rights, and as such, they should be given equal and fair opportunity to express themselves. Now, the rationale. Jamaica's commitment to the survival, protection, development, and participation right of each child was signaled by the ratification of the Convention of the Rights of the Child in 1991. Now, here we had the Child Care and Protection Act, the Child Development Agency, and a multi-agency collaboration approach to the Child Care and Protection Act. Now, what are the key provisions of the Act? One, it defines who a child is. Two, it states that whatever decision is made must be made in the best interest of the child. Three, it looks at the child's care and protection. Four, it looks at children who have been in conflict with the law. Five, it takes in consideration children who are in need of care and protection. Six, it looks at mandatory reporting and who are prescribed persons who fall under this category. Seven, it looks at court proceedings. Eight, it looks at the rights of children in care. Nine, it looks like at child labor. 10, child exploitation. 11, duty to secure education. 12, licensing of childcare facilities. And 13, child trafficking. Now, the main focus of the Act. There are two main focus of the Act, right? One, the best interest approach. Two, a child who may be in need of care and protection. Now, the first question that I want to ask, do you know who a child is? Sometimes, even when you pose this question to persons, mentors, they might say somebody who reached 12 years old, somebody under 16, or somebody who has attained the age of 16. But no, a child is every human being under the age of 18 years old, all right? Now, remember I told you about the best interest principle of the child. Now, what are some of the best practices that is in the best interest of the child? Safety is very, very important. A child looks to parents, guardians, responsible adults, a mentor, a pastor, a teacher, whoever you are, they look to you for safety. Sadly, though, that some of these same persons who children look to for safety are the same persons who abuse these children, making it so hard for children to trust adults. Now, children also need to develop relationship with their parents. For too long, we have seen where there's a single parent household and the father is rarely present. So there's no bonding, there's no communication, there's nothing there between the parent, the child, and that parent. So it is important that we seek to strengthen the relationship between parents and children. Now, children need continuity in their care throughout their lives. It's not like you can care for them today and tomorrow they are on their own. You're not responsible for them anymore. And you don't care what happened to them. That's not the situation. What children need is continuity, right? They need to know that they're going to be safe today, they're going to be safe tomorrow, and they were safe yesterday, right? As long as they depend on us for safety needs, for relationship needs, for physical food, clothing, shelter, they are going to ensure they're going to need the best education ever. And might I just say that when we look at education, we should ensure that the children gets a Christian education, because the values and the morals that they will get from a Christian institution is so important that they might not pick it up or not get it in a public setting, all right? Now, we look at the child's religious and spiritual views, and that's why it is important that when the child attends a Christian institution, the values, the spiritual upbringing is there. Now, a child also must be able to express themselves freely without fear or favor, right? They have a right to express themselves, to join a group, to share their views, and their views must be taken into consideration, right? Now, there should be no delay in decision making. For example, if a child has been abused, that child might need to be removed from that immediate setting. We should not delay removing that child because it's going to cause more harm, more trauma to this child. This child might need to be removed immediately and seek therapy for this child, whether psychologically or psychiatric, through psychiatric intervention. Now, what are the principles guiding best interests of the child? Children are entitled to be protected from abuse, and I just said a while ago, and there are many forms of abuse. There's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's neglect, and whatever form of harm or punishment, right, that a child may be meted out to a child. The child or children must be protected at all costs from all forms of abuse. Now, a child should be given the opportunity, first and foremost, to live and to grow in the preferred environment, which is a family. Now, even though we have state homes or state-run homes, no state-run homes can provide the love, the care, the affection, the attention, the one-on-one supervision that a child might need. We might do everything that is possible. We might try our very best to ensure that, yes, these are meted out to our children, but nothing can compensate or compare to a mother's love. Nothing can compare to a child living in their familiar environment where they have their siblings, where they have the support of uncles and aunts and grandma, grandpa, and so on and so forth, right? So children, when we look at the best interest principle, being in the family and being at home is one of the first and foremost principle that we take in consideration before we think of removing a child from their familial environment. Now, preservation of attachment of child to the family. We have to ensure that we don't pull or separate or sever a child from their family. That is the last resort. As an agency and as a family, we must seek to ensure that the child remains in our home as much as it is humanly possible. That is the environment that they are familiar with. That is the place that they call home, and home is where the heart is. Now, we also must listen to and respect the children's view. As I said before, gone are the days when we used to say a child must be seen and not heard. No, in our modern day society, we have to listen to our children. We have to respect their views and take their views into consideration. We'll also look at preservation of kinship ties and attachment to extended family. So we want to ensure that the children that we will interact with as much as possible remains in their familiar environment. And as I said, removing the child from that environment would be a last resort. But we should do everything within our powers to ensure that our children have maintained kinship ties and attachment. Now, decisions relating to children should be made and implemented on a timely manner. I just want to say that if something takes place or has gone wrong and a child may be abused, experiencing abuse one way or the other, it might mean that immediate, prompt decision may be made. Now, will have to be made. Now, mentors, if you realize that you are not in a position to assist in this particular area, I am advising you that you'll get in touch with an elder, a pastor, get in touch with a member of the Child Development Agency or the Child Protection and Family Services Agency team. We have offices located in each parish. You can also get in touch with a number of our stakeholders, including the police, right? You have the family court, you have the victim support division, you have a number of agencies and organizations that is designed to ensure that children's rights are protected and children get the best care and treatment. Now, who are these children that are in need of care and protection? Now, these children are children who don't have a fit parent or guardian. So sometimes you see some children loose on the roadside, they're wiping windscreen, they're selling stuff, or they're begging on the roadside. So I was really amazed the other day. I was passing down by Fairview when I saw this young man, and he had a barrel, and a huge barrel, and he was begging in that barrel. Now, when I looked at it, I realized that, listen, this man have a lot of faith, right? He has faith more than a mustard seed because he's expecting that his barrel will be filled. Now, as parents and guardians, we have to make informed decision to protect our children, to provide for them, to provide the supervision, the care. So if we are not at home, we have somebody there who will be able to supervise them, somebody who will be able to, as we say, give an eye on them. But here's what happened. We want that person to give more than an eye. We want that person to ensure that the children are safe, right? Now, children who are in need of care and protection are also those children who are physically abused, who are mentally, emotionally, sexually abused, right? And who have been victims of incest, right? So once all of these happen, this child is deemed in need of care and protection. Now, we also find a child who is in need of care and protection if the perpetrator of the violence probably live in the same house or in the same neighborhood. So we wouldn't want the child to remain in that environment as long as the perpetrator is still there. Now, a child who is exposed to child labor, who is employed under the age of 13, is a child in need of care and protection. Now, we look also at a member of the household with persons convicted of a serious crime of child abuse. So we wouldn't want to keep a child in a particular home if a member of that household has been convicted of child abuse, right? Now, children living on the streets, these are children in need of care and protection. Children who are destitute, begging, as I said before, loitering around the town and so on and so forth. Those who are socially excluded. The unattached youth, right? those who are victims of substance abuse, and those who are drug mule. These are a list of children who will be considered or can be considered as children in need of care and protection. Now, no child under 13 years old should be employed. Categorically, according to the Child Care and Protection Act, no child under 13 years of age should be employed. I want to also add that a child who is under the age of 12, please note that a child who is under the age of 12 cannot be criminally charged. Let me repeat that. A child who is under the age of 12 legally cannot be criminally charged, right? Now, what happened in a situation like that, that the child may be removed, but the parents would have to be cited for neglect or abandonment or something to that effect, right? So we work with the parents to ensure that whatever the situation is, it does not reoccur. Now, there's a restriction on the employment of children over 13 years old. So if the person is like 14, 15, 16 and is mature enough and is able to work, it should not be any hazardous work. It should not interfere with their school, and it should not be a night work, and it must not involve the sale of drugs, liquor, ganja, whatever the situation is, right? But if it is light work, like packing flour and sugar and rice in the supermarket, or if it is, running a little errand or something to that effect, fine, a child can do that, but no hazardous work. Now, according to the Child Care and Protection Act, we have what is called mandatory reporting by prescribed person. Now, who are prescribed persons? Prescribed persons are health professionals like the doctors, the nurses, the dentists, persons who have any interaction at all with children, hospital administrators, teachers, and those who are in the teaching professionals, the principal, persons who work in the school, the guidance counselors, the dean of discipline, the vice principal. All of these persons are considered, according to the law, prescribed persons. Social workers, children officers, any other person by virtue of his employment or occupation has a responsibility to discharge a duty of care towards a child. As example, those in daycare. Now, you and I might be, well, I am a prescribed person, and mentors, you are going to be dealing with children. So under the law, we have a responsibility to report. Now, mandatory reporting of suspicious or suspicions of abuse. According to the law, it states that once you recognize that an abuse is taking place or has taken place or is likely to take place, we have a responsibility to report, right? Now, who do you report to? There's a police officer as a frontline person. As I said before, the CPFSA or the Child Development Agency's office is in all the parishes. You can report to any one of us. There is a family court, there is a children's advocate, there is a victim support division. And as I mentioned before, you as a mentor, you can take a report. And when you take that report, don't keep it to yourself. Pass it on to one of us, either police, a children officer, or somebody else who will be able to carry out the necessary actions, all right? Community members have a legal responsibility also to ensure that children are protected and their interests safeguarded. So persons who are in the community, if you hear of a child being beaten and you hear the abuse taking place, you hear the child crying, or something to that effect, you have a responsibility also to report the matter. Now, the police have a responsibility. What are their responsibility? To receive complaints. Now, when you go to the police station, let them know that you have a report to make. At the end of the report, please ensure that you get a receipt. Now, this can mean your ticket out of trouble, because if you said you reported, but you have no proof to say that you reported it, you can also be charged, right? So make sure that whenever you make a report, that you get a receipt from the police officer that is taking the complaint. Now, the police also has a responsibility to investigate matters of abuse. They also have the responsibility to arrest, to make referrals, and to place the matter before the court. Now, we have the Office of the Children's Advocate, right? Now, the Office of the Children's Advocate ensures and protects, enforces children's rights. They are the legal representation for children in Jamaica. Now, they investigate complaints of abuse, and when matters are placed before the court, they provide legal representations for the children. Now, we had the Children's Registry. Now, there was a merger that took place between the Child Development Agency and the Office of the Children's Registry. And that's why we get that long name now, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. Now, instead of having a children's registry, what we do have is a national children's registry. Now, what the NCR does is that they receive information from the public, from anybody at all, about cases of abuse, abandonment, neglect, and so on and so forth, right? And they assess the information, they investigate the information, and then, if needs be, a matter is reported to the children's advocate or the offices of the Child Development Agency. Now, the Child Development Agency. What or who is the Child Development Agency? The Child Development Agency, now the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, is an executive agency under the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information. Not, that should have been changed on the slide, all right? It is a ministry under the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information. It is the amalgamation of the Child Services Division and the Child Support Unit and the Adoption Board. So all three came together and formed one agency called the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. Now, the agency is a government agency presently mandated with the responsibility for administering the same thing that I'm talking about, the Child Care and Protection Act. The agency provides leadership in the development and maintenance of systems that support collaboration and partnership in the delivery of services to children and their families. Now, what are the objectives of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency? We are proactive, and being proactive, we try to ensure safeguards of our children from becoming at risk. Now, it does not always work that way. Sometimes, even in our best efforts, we try to protect the children before abuse takes place. Sometimes we don't catch them early enough. Sometimes things slip by and children become at risk. Now, on the reactive side, we provide appropriate interventions for those at risk from neglect, abuse, and so on, right? So we provide counseling support, we provide family therapy, we provide psychological assessment, we provide interventions in ways that will help to build the family's resilience so that they can be better able to work with their children and their family. Now, the CDA or the CPFSA receives reports of child abuse and neglect They investigate those reports, right? They provide provision of care services for neglect and abused children. They ensure general protection of children, public education, social mobilization, advising on policies and legal issues. We have a number of things. We also look at adoption matters. This is the agency that deal with all the adoption issues in Jamaica. We foster a child. So when we have situations where a child has to be removed from their home, their familial environment, and we don't have spaces at the facility to place these children, we try to find alternative placement by placing them in foster care. So we handle those services as well. Now, the CPFSA does a lot of court work, right? Now, when a matter is brought before the court, whether for abuse, for a child in need of care and protection, an unattached youth, somebody who was abandoned, neglected, or orphaned, or so on and so forth, once that matter is placed before the court, our court officers pick up the matter and they carry out the investigation. Now, as I mentioned before, if the home environment is not suitable, they are either placed in foster care, adoption, or some might have to be placed in an institution, but there are some, however, that can be returned to their families in reintegration, right? Now, from the onset, we do intake screening, we carry out investigation, we do family assessment, as I said before, we do court investigation, we do case planning and management, we look at service provisions, we close cases as soon as things are able to do that. Now, mentors, I have explained to you what is the Child Care and Protection Act. It's a Bible by which we conduct our work. It's the instrument that is used to guide our practice. And I hope that the presentation was enlightening. I hope that it was educational to you. I just want to close by saying happy children, productive adults, or make productive adults, make Jamaica a better and a brighter place. Have you created the right environment for your children? If not, ask yourself, what can I do in order to create a better environment for my child or my children? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our very honorable presenter. We are so delighted for this powerful and meaningful presentation. Very informative and important, Mr. Vassel. We have this issue of our awareness of our children maintaining their rights is very much important. We have a few persons who have some questions. And the first question here is coming from Jotasha Plummer, who is asking, how do you guide a teenager who is impulsively addicted to alcohol, but wants to change, but doesn't have the hope of changing?
All right, so we have other stakeholders who we partner with. One of them is the National Council on Drug Abuse, right? We have our very own Sister Susan Brown, who is one of the more able counselors there, that sometimes we try to find out what is the source. Why is it that this person is turning to substance abuse, right? We try to find out what is the anxiety, what is the fear, try to find the root cause as to why would a normal child, a normal youth get up and start to drink or smoke or whatever. Once we identify what that is, we try to deal with things from the source. Now, one way of dealing with it is to get drug counseling, drug testing, and drug therapy, right? So once we identify the issue, we try to get the necessary help where it is possible.
Okay, is there a age what you call age range, where, for example, the way in which the law treats a child under 13 to say, okay, this child should never be employed. We know that if you're under 18, you should not be drinking alcohol. But within the sphere of that gap from age 1 to age 18, is there any age group that you will say, okay, this group is probably a little bit mature, we have a different treatment for this one versus someone who is under 15? You know, is there any age group that we can leave out, or we can make some other arrangements for?
No. Okay. Under the Child Care and Protection Act, a child is any human being under the age of 18, and should be treated likewise. As was mentioned in the presentation, yes, the only exemption that we have are children 12 years and under, that if they commit an offense, yes, and I'm not talking about drinking or smoking or some sort of substance abuse, they will be treated differently. Okay. Right? But all children, once they fall in the remit of a child, yes, they will be treated likewise under the law.
Very good. Janora Gordon is asking, what if the person doesn't want to talk at the specific time when you try to intervene? How do you get through that to that individual? You know, sometimes teenagers can be very closed in their responses, and they use avoidance tactics to get away from you. How do you deal with such situations?
All right. So as a trained counselor, we are trained in the art of play therapy, art therapy, music, right? Now, we use this therapy with children who might not be ready to talk, but we can engage them in play therapy, art therapy. You know, you can use music to kind of soothe them down and things like that, and have them write. You know, they might not want to talk, but they might be able to draw something. They might be able to write something down. And we are equipped and trained to pick up certain things, and also to apply the necessary remedial actions.
Okay, very good. We have two more. The questions are coming in. Brother Vassel, this one is a hot topic. If you see that a child is at risk and you speak to the parent, but nothing is done about it, what should be the next step?
According to the Child Care and Protection Act, the law says we ought to report. Now, if you identify, and as we said that the law is specific and it is clear, it says that if you suspect, the operative word there is suspect. Right. If you suspect that an abuse has taken place, is taking place, or is likely to take place, we have a responsibility to report. Now, if we don't report, we might be fined if brought before the court, and fined up to $500,000 or 3 months or 6 months in prison, or we can fine up to $1 million and 6 months in prison. Now, if you find that you talk to the parents or the guardian and nothing is happening, no, you have a responsibility to take it now to one of our service partners, one of our stakeholders, and report it. Right? Probably it might be a simple conversation with the guidance counselor, with the dean of discipline, with your pastor, or some other, respected adult and trusted adult too. Now, we will take it from there. As long as it comes to our desk, we have a responsibility to investigate.
Okay. Given the context of our inform of dead culture, what protection is there for the person who makes the report?
All right, that's a very good question, and thanks for that question. Almost every presentation I do, persons ask, how can I protect myself given the informer culture? Well, our system is set up in a way that we have a 311, 211, or a 1-800 protect number. Okay. It's a toll-free number. You don't need to give your name. You don't need to tell us where you're calling from. We don't want to know who you are.
Okay.
We don't want to know nothing at all about you. Okay. All we want to know is that you have observed some form of abuse and you want to report it to us, right? So go ahead and call the number 211 or 1-888 protect.
Before I take the next question, there's another part of the question I'd like to ask. As a church, you know, we tend to, we have our internal means of executing some amount of judgment when someone goes against principle. What if the church took a decision to discipline the person who is accused of the issue? Would the church be protected in the case where, since they would have at least taken some action, would the church be protected? You know, will we be all right if we did not actually
all right,
make a report?
I think I understand perfectly well what you're saying. So say, for example, a case of abuse has taken place by a church member, and from the leadership of the church has decided to pull in this member or the family and talk to this member, and the member was repentant to the point where probably they move out of the house and they are no longer a threat or of any harm to the child, right? And you are comfortable in the fact that this will not happen again and the child will be safe. No, that is fine, right? Because what we are about is to ensure the safety and protection of our children, right? So as long as the child is not in harm's way anymore, right? As long as the child is safe, as we spoke about earlier, that the child is safe and the perpetrator has no access to the house or to the home anymore, I believe that it is fine. However, if the crime or the situation is more than just a physical beating that, you know, you can overlook. If it is like a sexual situation, no, that has to be reported because that is a matter against the law.
We can't spiritualize that. We can't over spiritualize it. Thank you. I have the final question, well, based on the list I have, from Shelley and Roddock. In the interest of the child, how do you work to help a parent who usually does the right thing by the children, but had a breakdown and physically abused the child? You know, the parent is usually very subdued and contained and restrained, but they just went off the chain and for within a moment. How do you deal with that?
So we're all human beings, and from time to time, persons will have a breakdown, a meltdown. They will snap.
Yes.
You understand? We can't condemn such a person. What we do as an agency, right, is seek to empower and to restore such a person. And the church has that responsibility too, right? From a spiritual perspective, to strengthen the person, find out what is happening, why this has happened, and try to encourage the person. Now, what we do from an agency standpoint is to provide parent training, to provide parent therapy, to have, you know, the children and parents come together in one common setting and try to work with them to see how best we can sort this out so that we don't have a recurrence of this situation.
Okay, so you're saying it could still be reported, but their actions would be more remedial than punitive. Okay.
That's right. Because as we're saying that sometimes a lot of persons, myself, was a victim of abuse, but growing up, we didn't know that. You understand? But my father was not arrested or anything at all like that. But the guidance counselor would have called that person in and have a good talk with my father, and they were able to sort things out.
Wonderful.
You understand? So yes. We will counsel with the parents and provide therapy sessions so that they can be empowered to deal with it in a more, you know, polite and respectful manner.
All right, very good. I really want to thank Mr. Vassel for this very informative and direct presentation. It is important that we have this material available to us as mentors in training. I probably would ask you, I was about to say Pastor Vassel, Brother Vassel, where can the mentors go to find additional information for their own reading again and empowerment? Where can they?
Okay, so you can go online. We are online at www.cpfsa.gov.
Okay.
They can come into any one of our offices located in all the parishes in St. James. We are located at the family court, upstairs, the family court on the second floor.
Okay.
In Trelawney. We are right before the wharf. You understand?
Okay.
I think it is Duke Street. In Savlamar, right in front of Manning's High School.
Okay.
And in Hanover, in front of Sinclair Bargain Center. So we are strategically located in the 4 parishes in the West, but that's the region that I am directly responsible for.
Okay.
But in every parish in Jamaica, there is a CPFSA office, and you can access us online or directly at the offices.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Mendes, but thanks so much, Mr. Vassel, for coming, for blessing us with this very important information. And we know you put a lot into preparing for it, and the audience definitely are better for what you have shared. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Okay, I want to say well done to our presenters. Today, it was rich information shared by all 3 of our presenters today. We want to say thank you to them for taking time out of their personal time today to come and share in this mentorship webinar today. I hope and trust that each person who was online would have learned something, would have been better prepared as we seek to prepare ourselves as a church to meet the needs of society by sharing and caring for a mentee under our charge. So I want to say to Dr. Brown-Earle, who came first with the plenary sessions, thank you so much, Dr. Earle, for your insights, for enlightening us on the stages of life from infant to old age and the conflicts we face within. To ask ourselves the question, where are we now? And to understand the different developmental cycles of our mentees. We want to say thanks to Sir Vassel, Mr. Eric Vassel, for sharing the Child Care and Protection Act and for letting us understand the different ramifications, the different parts and criteria, and how it is to identify a child and how it is that we treat, care, and protect for children. Also want to thank Ms. Paddison for sharing on the rights of the child with those who were 23 and under. So it was a good day. It was a good day sharing rich information with you, our mentors. And we hope that this rich information, you will translate it and put it into practice. It is one thing to learn and one thing to have your notes, but it's another thing to put it into practice. And so you are now armed with level 1 of the mentorship training. And being armed, we ask you to go out there, go forth. You should have already identified your mentee by now. So we are encouraging you now to, if you have not yet started, to engage your mentee with your level 1 training and to go out there and to be that mentor, that bridge, that one who will pass on morals and values and attitudes to your mentee. Just to remind you that the quiz will be placed in the chat, and so that you can get your quiz done, it will be placed in the chat, if not already, anytime now. Also to remind you that the program evaluation, please, we are looking for your feedback. We are looking for your comments. And so please, we ask you to do the program evaluation form in the chat so that you can evaluate us, so that we can have valuable feedback in order as we get ready for our level 2 training. And of course, register, register, register. They say that repetition deepens impression. So we say it over again, ensure that you're registered on westjamaica.org, and so that you can be a part, officially a part of our program as we seek to go conference-wide to have young people mentored under our wings. As I close today, I just want to let you know, mentors, that the task may be daunting, the task may be huge, the task may be great, but put the Lord in it. Put the Lord first. Pray about it. Let him lead the way as you seek to get your mentee on board and you seek to ensure that you inculcate good values in your mentee. To close, we will have Mrs. Marion Barrett Popkin, Treasurer of West Jamaica Conference, to give us the closing prayer.
It has been a very meaningful session, and we are so grateful to our presenters, Mr. Eric Vassel, Dr. Orlean Brown-Earle, and of course, Mrs. Andrea Patterson. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for having participated. Certainly, this mentorship involvement is going to make a lot of difference in the lives of so many. We thank God for his blessings in having brought us this far. And we are going to pray to end this meaningful session. Bow your heads with me, won't you? Our Father, thank you so much for your care for every aspect of our being. We thank you for this very meaningful session we've had, for the presenters, for the participants, for those who are being empowered and strengthened to go on to touch lives, empowering youth, and really meaningfully touching society. We pray that your kingdom will become, as we submit and surrender ourselves to you, to make impact on the lives of so many through the power of your Holy Spirit. May lives be changed, transformed, and prepared for your soon coming. Thank you for Christ's sake. Amen.